This podcast represents the opinions of our hosts and their guests only. The content here should not be taken as medical advice and is for informational purposes only. And because each person is so unique, please consult your healthcare professional for any medical questions. Welcome to Once Shattered, Picking Up the Pieces, a podcast devoted to changing the way eating disorders and mental illness are viewed in our society. With your hosts, Jack and Linda Major and Ellen Bennett. Today's guest is Robyn Shumer. Robyn Shumer is a dynamic force in the world of change management and communication. She brings a unique blend of expertise to her endeavors, finds the bright spots amidst disorder, and can make an audience laugh and cry, but most importantly, lead them to action. Robyn is the author of the book Bones, a compelling narrative, hero's journey that explores her life with an eating disorder and successful executive and inspirational leader. Robyn is represented by Leslie Meredith, and the book is in search of finding a home with the right publisher. A true advocate for authentic communication, Robyn Shumer is on a mission to inspire others to embrace and share the stories that make them who they are.
Welcome, everyone. Today's podcast is brought to you by two wonderful eating disorder nonprofits, the Emily Connection, that's Emily, E-M-I-L-E-E, and KMB for Answers. These two nonprofits were formed in memory of Emily Major and Katie Bennett, two exceptional young women who lost their lives to anorexia. Today we begin our fourth season of Once Shattered, Picking Up the Pieces. It's great to be back, and we have a fantastic show for you. You are going to love and be inspired by Robyn Shumer, and she will be with us momentarily. But first, I'd like to share my quote with you. After nourishment, shelter, and companionship, stories are the things we need most in the world. And that quote is by Philip Putnam. And now I'd like to introduce my wonderful husband and best friend, Jack Major, and my dear friend and fellow eating disorder and mental health advocate, Ms. Ellen Bennett.
Well, welcome, listeners. And oh my gosh, I can't believe this is our fourth season. It is just, I remember when we first started this, and it's flown by, and it's great to be here again for season number 4. Thank you all for your support.
Welcome. Thanks for tuning in. So excited to be back. Yes. Remember, all the links for today's show are in the show notes, and we look forward to this conversation.
And without further ado, we're in for a wonderful treat, and I'd like to introduce you to Robyn Shumer. Robyn, are you there?
Hi, I am. Can you hear me okay?
Yep. I hear you great. Yep.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here. And as you know, I'm so moved, touched, and inspired by your work. So thank you so much.
Well, look who's talking. Okay, so Robyn, you are passionate about amplifying people, and you are gifted at encouraging others to share their stories. Can you tell us a little about your early life and the things that started to shape your vision of the world and yourself?
Yeah, such a great way to start our time together. My story began when I was 8 years old and at the pediatrician's for my annual school physical. It was the first time I stepped onto a scale and prayed to God that my weight didn't exceed a certain number. Fast forward 2 years later, it's my birthday. I'm in 4th grade. The highlight was bringing cupcakes to the other teachers. And my best friend, Michelle Jordan, had the sexy new teacher from the Philippines. And I had the old lady who was retiring in 5 minutes. And when I went to this other classroom, I knocked on the door. The teacher opened it and she shouted, "Robyn, it's your birthday." And I felt so seen and recognized. And this woman who represented the ideal standard of beauty knew my name. And then she looked me up and down and she said, "Oh my God, you have elephant legs." And it wasn't until I was a sophomore in college that I realized what she meant were that my tights were sagging at the ankles.
Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness.
And that is really how this whole journey for me began. It was something that somebody said, and I interpreted it one way, and they actually meant something else.
Oh my gosh. Wow. I would never have thought, elephant legs meant, saggy bottom trousers or tights or whatever, but now
I do remember having bell bottoms that were real wide, and we called those elephant legs.
Yeah.
Oh,
But,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Words have power and that impact on you. Oh, my gosh. Misinterpretation.
There was a young man when I was in fifth grade who liked one of the girls in our fifth grade class and said she had chicken legs. And I said, well, what kind of legs do I have? And I should have never asked. And he said, you have thunder thighs.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Those things can really, and I didn't forget it. So, right.
Yeah.
Well, Emily had somebody say something, right, about another girl that, there was a boy she liked, and this guy said something about another
he
girl.
kept talking about what great legs the other girl had.
Long legs,
Yeah.
thin legs, yeah.
Ugh.
There's a lot of triggers out there that people just don't understand, and still don't understand. I mean, you just hear it every day. So, yeah. So, when did your vision begin to change, Robyn? And was there something that helped you to heal?
Well, I've always thought that I was too much. And someone once told me that I was an acquired taste. And so I've always tried to be as small as possible. And I struggled really deeply with my eating disorder and its co-occurring morbidities, anxiety, depression, obsessive compulsive disorder, until my 40s. And I don't want listeners or caregivers to get discouraged by how long I struggled, because this question is really so good and so important. And if I had known what would help me sooner, I would have pursued it a lot sooner. And, being raised in a house where what happens in this house stays in this house, and where children are to be seen and not heard, it was modeled for me to say nothing. And then in 2018, I was given the opportunity to deliver a TED Talk. And preparing for and delivering that talk has been the most impactful experience of my entire life. It supersedes the billions of hours I spent in therapy. And it was really during that process that I came up with my mantra: don't be ashamed to share the stories that shape you. And finding the words to articulate my lived experience and who I am has been so transformative. That's when things really shifted for me. And that's why I teach my process to people like you. It's really a gift that I want to share with people.
So that was when you first realized that you had that talent and that was your passion to help others, after you did that TED Talk, or being able to do that TED Talk. And
yeah, I never realized how powerful it was to keep secrets and not really be honest about how you feel. And I always thought, oh, I'm an embarrassment. Nobody wants to know I have depression or anxiety and when I got in front of it and shared my story, just everything changed for me. I'll never forget, early in my career, we would celebrate birthdays at work, and everybody would bring birthday cakes, and I never wanted to eat the birthday cake. And so they all made fun of me. And then one year for my birthday, they brought me a huge tray from the grocery store of vegetables with a candle in it. And on the one hand, I felt seen, and the other hand, I felt embarrassed.
yeah.
And then when I shared my story, people apologized and they got it.
Yeah. How did the TED Talk come about? How did, were you chosen to do a TED Talk?
So there's a call for applicants, and you go through a whole application process. You answer questions about what you want to change people's minds about and talk about how you might do it and why you are the right person to deliver that message. And so using your lived experience gives you so much credibility.
Okay. Do you have to do an audition for it before they put it out live or recorded or live?
In the application process, I think if I remember correctly, I had to send like a 1-minute video.
Okay.
Well, I give anybody who does a TED Talk a whole lot of credit because you have to do it all by memory in front of people. You've got the time in front of you at your feet that you're looking at, right? That you can't supersede. So, and your TED Talk is so powerful and so moving. I'm a huge fan of you.
Thank you.
And TED Talks.
Yeah, I encourage anyone to go out there and on YouTube or wherever to find your TED Talk.
Yeah, if you go to my website, Robyn, ROBYN, Shumer, SHUMER.com, and you click on speakers and scroll to the very bottom, it'll take you to my talk.
Great.
Robyn, I made your comment about keeping secrets. I think we all realize how powerful that is because in so many situations that is part of the story. I am fascinated by all that you're doing and particularly interested in what's your story and how you took that concept to a whole new level. Truly, all of our lives are a tapestry of incredible and unique experiences that define who we are. Sharing our experiences as a story creates opportunities for everyone to learn and grow with each other. Please share more about this, how it evolved, and tell us where. Oh, we just heard that. We know how to find you. Thank you very much for your website and everything. All right.
Well, thank you so much. So I actually learned the power of storytelling when I collaborated with 2 colleagues to raise money for another eating disorder nonprofit called Project Heal. And they provide grant funding to people with eating disorders who can't afford treatment. And it was so interesting. When we first launched our fundraiser, we got donations, but not as many as we expected or hoped for. It wasn't until we updated our fundraising material with why we were doing this that the pledges rolled in. So when we told people that because of our lifelong struggles with anorexia and bulimia, we were raising money for 2 people to get treatment who couldn't afford it, the pledges rolled in. So when we laser focused and we got vulnerable and shared our why, we were able to exceed our fundraising goal of $10,000. And What's Your Story is it's a platform where people can literally share their stories. It could be about mental health. It could be about physical health. It could be about that time you went out west skiing and you broke your leg on the first day. And the way I like to explain What's Your Story is that if Ted and the Moth Story Hour had a baby, it would be What's Your Story. And what differentiates What's Your Story is that every event raises money for a nonprofit. And before COVID, my most successful event raised $10,000 in 90 minutes.
Wow.
That's incredible. It's incredible to use the power of story to do that. Yeah, that it's different, it's innovative, and it covers so many different things because those stories need to be told.
So Jack and I have had the pleasure of working with you, Robyn, And we were honored to each be able to share a story on your virtual story slam, What's Your Story? A Life in Action. Would you like to share any of the story you told the audience that day, or share why these events fill you up, or both?
Oh, well, it was really such a privilege to work with you all, and we'll definitely work together for a long time. You know, these events fill me up because I literally observe individuals experiencing like a sense of rejuvenation. Simply by sharing their narratives, it seems as though people gain like a newfound vitality. I like to think about a caterpillar undergoing metamorphosis and turning into a butterfly. It's like finding the words and getting them out there creates all of this space for you to be your authentic self. And that evening meant so much to me because it celebrated the culmination of my partner with you guys. And, you know, having people whom I have the utmost respect and admiration for trust me with their precious story, and that's you guys, in case you didn't know, was actually like a career highlight for me. So from that night, you all were the stories that filled me up the most.
Well, we were so touched by your generosity, your time that you spent with us preparing, and we learned so much from you. You are truly a gift, and you've been heaven sent to us. Jack and I both feel that way.
Oh, we were so, I guess, lucky just to be in Boston last year and have Rebecca come up to us, who was running Project Heal at the time. I know she stepped down now, and say, you know, there's a woman you guys need to contact, and that's Robyn Shumer. And I didn't wait for her to. So
you know, Jack gets so excited about things, and I'm like, you know, that's great, that's wonderful. And then he already emailed her. I'm like, Jack, you couldn't even wait for her to get back to us.
No,
but that's just what he does.
No,
I love it. I love that sense of urgency.
Yeah. Well, and you know, Linda always says, "Oh, people, you know, they're so busy they won't get back to you right away." But you did, and it was truly like everybody that we've met on this journey. You're an Emily connection, and a very, very important one for sure. Thank you.
Well, you know, this work that I'm doing, it gives my pain a purpose.
Yeah. I want to go back to a couple with Ellen's question about the stories and your what's your story. You know, when we do speak, and everybody that is at the conferences and things knows all the statistics, the horrible statistics about, you know, eating disorders and how many people are affected. And most people think that the estimates that are out there are low because it's been the same for years. But you know, the one death every 52 minutes, the, you know, 20% mortality rate for anorexia nervosa, all those things. And I say, you know, those are numbers, but behind those numbers are actual people that are gone, you know, families that are devastated. And that's what really gets, you know, the attention of the people that we're talking to is like, yeah, you know, that's a person. It's somebody's daughter, somebody's son, somebody's mom, whatever, aunt. And that's why, you know, when we put our story out there and what we do here at Once Shattered and on the Emily Connection, we're just trying to get people to come out and not be ashamed, not to think there's this stigma. Tell your story and let's get together and join together, because you're much more powerful together, you know, than just individual stories, because there's thousands of individual stories out there that need to come out. So, and
we're very fortunate to have Ellen Bennett be two moms and a dad and part of this trio, because she's amazing at sharing stories, and she does it with a zest like no one else. So, a passion and a zest.
Yeah, and that, you know, I hear, you know, I'm the dad, and when I go to these other speaking things, these conferences and stuff, I'm the only male there many times, you know, and I just wish I could bring out more dads, you know, to tell their stories and how they feel, and because I know how I am, so.
There's an endless
Jack, I've got
supply
a dad
of
to introduce
stigma.
you to.
What's that?
I have a dad to introduce you to,
Okay.
a friend of mine from work.
Okay.
And you guys will really change the world together. I'll make that introduction today.
Okay, great. Yeah. I mean, in our support groups, we've had a couple dads, right? But
We've had a few dads, yeah.
mostly it's the
It's not-
moms that.
but usually the dads come with the moms, you know, and that's great because you do them together. But I don't think we've had a dad come by himself. You know, I think it's just so much harder for men to share their feelings, you know, in a group. But once somebody does it, just like a talk or, you know, just unleashing, you know, what's been bound up inside you is such a cathartic thing. You know, just finding people who understand is truly a remarkable, life-changing thing for people. And it helps people move forward almost always, I think, if it's the right, you know, the right group.
Well, I'll see a couple this weekend because we're having an event Saturday, painting with a twist, which without the twist, because that's
Nice.
yeah. So we're bringing, and it's families and the adults together. It's
The adults with eating disorders and their family members of our group, and yeah, so
bringing
it should
everybody
be,
together for a little social
love
event.
that.
Yeah.
yeah. The social connection is really important. So sometimes it's fun just to go out and to laugh, so and to do something fun together.
So, Robyn, you're an ICF trained coach, and I need you to explain what that is and what you were inspired by to pursue that path. And if you can tell us a little bit about your clients, and we already know where people can reach you, but you can always remind us of that.
Yeah, so ICF is, you know, the industry standard for coaching. And I got trained and certified, I think about 10 years ago. And as a coach, I partner with people and organizations to help them become, you know, ideal versions of themselves. And together we explore what might be getting in their way of achieving something that they really want for themselves. And as a coach, I'm not an advice giver. I'm a super curious questioner. And I partner with people so that they can find the answers themselves. Because we all know when somebody tells you what to do, the likelihood of, you know, acquiescing might be, you know, slim to none. But if you come up with the solution yourself, your success rate is going to be higher. And the metaphor I like to use is I'm like a service animal. So if you picture a service animal, you know, with a harness, leading a visually impaired person across the street, I'm the service animal. I'm leading somebody from point A to point B. But the human doesn't sit on top of the service animal. So the service animal doesn't do all the work for the human. They do it collaboratively.
It's a great.
Love
That's
that.
great.
Thank you. And so I listen and I ask questions and, you know, we'll prioritize together and think about, you know, what small micro habits somebody might want to work on over the next couple of weeks. And I can be an accountability partner. If somebody says, you know, I'm going to, I don't know, eat more fiber, I might, you know, we might agree that I'll check in on a Wednesday and say, hey, how's that fiber consumption going? So we do it together.
And I assume you have varied clients with many different stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have worked with a lot of people like in industry who are having, you know, something that they need to work out personally or professionally. I've worked with a lot of early in career people, preparing them to enter the workforce. I've worked with people that are sad and, are in therapy, but need a little bit of spice or something different. One of the best things I did when I was going through training is I volunteered for the United Way. And they had a project where we coached women who were displaced homemakers. So they were women that were being physically abused, and they had to leave their homes, maybe in the middle of the night, lived someplace safely for a while, and were now trying to re-enter the workforce. And so I did a lot of career and wellness coaching with women in that population, which was really great.
Do you have people just in this country, or is it around the world?
For work, I've done coaching in other countries with people in other countries. But for my small practice, I just focus on the U.S.
Okay.
And the thing about coaching is the skills are transferable. So I feel like it doesn't matter what the opportunity is. It could be somebody in their 70s. It could be somebody in their 20s. The skill is the skill. And it makes my life so much richer. And I learn just as much from people that I work with, as they do for me.
Yeah, I bet you do. Yeah.
Robyn, after 25 years for me in this space and kind of seeing the good, the bad, and the ugly, we have seen so much change, but we still have a lot more to do. Mm-hmm. We're making progress. Sometimes progress is slow. What is the inspiration to me is it seems that we're beginning to embrace multidimensional approaches to the very complex and nuanced reality of eating disorders and mental health. And the concept, as well as the concept that we're all impacted by mental health in one way or other. We just are. It is. It's part of life. What are your thoughts on how we're using multidimensional approaches and how your work fits into this?
Well, Ellen, if you've been in the space for 25 years, you must have started when you were 15 or 16.
I just got my senior discount on coffee at Dunkin' today.
Nice. I actually just turned 50, and back in December, AARP sent me something in the mail. And I threw it away. I was like, I didn't want to know what's inside.
Yeah.
You have 15 years to go of throwing that away before you really get serious.
They started, used to be, I think, 60 was when they started. Now they're sending it to people at 50. Yeah.
Yeah. And I wasn't even 50. Anyway, it's a really great question, Ellen. And remarkable evolution in the past 25 years within this field, witnessing significant changes, and recognizing the ongoing challenges that really lie ahead. And what truly inspires me is, I think, the emerging recognition that multidimensional approaches to addressing eating disorders and mental health is not a nice to have, it is a must have. And I think that shift in how we approach mental health and well-being acknowledges this interconnectedness of various factors that underscore that we're all affected in some capacity. And, in the context of my work, I would say that I really strive to contribute to this holistic approach by fostering an understanding and empathy through education and dialogue, and listening for what's said and listening for what's not said, by getting people up and moving, stretching, yoga, walking, painting, And by highlighting the multifaceted nature of these issues to promote inclusive conversations. And, I really strive to support individuals and communities who are navigating their mental health journeys with compassion and with resilience, and really listening for what they might not know they need. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I'll see somebody sitting there
Absolutely.
fidgeting when I'm coaching them, and I'll give them Play-Doh. And you know what? All they needed was something to manipulate in their hands, or, sitting at a table and conversing with somebody might not work. So we'll have a walking session.
In the midst of when you're really seeking some support and guidance to help bridge through some difficult times, that's so needed for somebody to help you push through, figure out other ways to meet your needs.
When people need to fidget sometimes, because that just stirs up things, and that just helps them to be able to cope. So I can relate to that.
You're doodling?
Yes.
I doodle.
Yeah, Linda's
Yes.
a doodler. She'll just doodle on the paper.
It drives Jack crazy.
I would have never guessed.
No?
Never. No.
I think what's really helped in bringing mental illness to the forefront is the celebrities, the athletes. I was just listening to a sports show today with a big offensive lineman who came out about his mental illness and talking about other big strong guys that have issues right after the game. So
Goes back to the secrets.
yeah.
Well, I think it's difficult because not everybody deserves to hear what you're going through or your story, but it's really hard to keep them in. But when you find those safe places, those safe spaces, it can change your whole world. And it's just hard for people to know sometimes be of the right spot and to get over the shame. I mean, there should be no shame in struggling with something. We're human by design. We are all struggling with something at some time. Most of the time, somebody's, we're always trying to balance things. So it's nothing to be ashamed of. And I think the more that we can come together, the healthier we will be.
Well, I think that's, what you said, adapting the environment that you're in with the person you're with at that time, rather than, just sitting in an office, sitting in a chair, her sitting in a chair, or him sitting in a chair, is so important to make them feel more comfortable. And that's great.
And I think it's much easier to share the difficult things you're going through if you know somebody else has gone through difficult things too. And they don't have to be exactly the same. But when you come out the other side, and hopefully people come out the other side, it makes them even more compassionate to others and the rest of the world than they were before. It just transforms people. I mean, I think everything that comes into our lives has the opportunity for us to become better when we learn how to deal with things. It makes us different people.
Yeah.
Everything is a gift.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay, so Robyn, you juggle so many important jobs, being a wonderful mom, a loving wife, running your own business and coaching, and now you've taken on one more thing, and you've written your book. Tell us about the decision, and tell us your why, and share a little bit with us. We'd love to hear about that.
Well, I'm completely biased towards action. I have a lot of energy. I have a lot of ideas. And besides being an ideator, I execute. So a lot of people are idea people, but they don't do anything with it. And I do. And I'm at my best when I'm contributing the most. And I don't know any other way to be. I remember when I was a kid, I started this thing with my girlfriends where whenever they came over to my house to play, they'd have to bring a quarter. And I would put it in a jar. And then at the end of the year, we would all decide, do we donate that money to the Humane Society or to like the cancer hospital? So I've always just been this person that wants to make the world a better place. And I started my book in 7th grade.
Really?
And I'm just busy. And, as I was thinking about this question, I just realized, well, an analyst listening to this might be like, oh, well, she's so busy all the time. She's distracting herself from like thinking about like her feelings. Well, no, I think about my feelings. I just like to do good.
You've created a balance between
Thank
and
you.
are able to juggle all those different things at one time. And that is a gift. That's a gift.
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, if I don't have enough to do, I get depressed and then I nap and then I feel horrible. So it's better for me to be busy. So if anybody has anything for me to do, just send it my way. I'll do your stuff for you.
Can you tell us a little bit about the writing process in your book, or are you keeping that under wraps for a while?
Oh, no, I'm telling anybody that makes eye contact with me. So, it's very interesting that I started this when I was in 7th grade, and it was the year after I got out of the hospital. And I've got all of my journals from, my whole life. So they were really helpful in my writing. Writing was really hard. It's really sad. It was a grieving process. My eating disorder took up my adolescence and my teenage years and my 20s and my 30s and my early 40s. And I didn't do like things that normal people did at my age. And rereading it in my journals was really, really difficult. But I did have somebody help me with my book, and it's cathartic and it has a happy ending, and it talks about how you can turn pain into purpose and literally find your voice and take your lived experience and really make meaning out of it. The problem with my book is that I think it's 1 in 6,000 memoirists get an agent, a literary agent, and I got an agent. And the problem is that none of the publishers, well, all the publishers love my book, but nobody wants to publish it because I'm not a celebrity.
Well, you are a celebrity.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not.
But you are in this space. You are.
Maybe in this space I have brand recognition, but and what was really hard for me at the end of last year was when all of the best of lists came out for books. And no offense to like anybody's reading taste or anything, but when I saw, the best of memoirs and it was like Jada Pinkett Smith and Britney Spears, I was like, this really hurts. Yeah. So if anybody's in the publishing world and wants to get a copy of my book proposal, let me know.
I think you're going to change the world and expand the concept of share your story. That there are some really important stories out there that are not attached to celebrity.
Well, yes. Ellen, thank you.
Yeah.
And you're putting it out there, and I think the universe will rise up to meet you. Yeah. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised.
I remember when we and we self-published our book, but I remember we had the original cover had Emily's picture on it. And it was
Well, the second one does too, but it's just
second one
small,
does
but
too,
yeah.
but the first one, and somebody said, well, she really shouldn't have her picture on there because she's not famous. She's not Michelle Obama. She's not. So I don't know why there's this perception out there. And me, I said I wanted people to see Emily. I wanted them to see her face on the cover of the book. So I don't know. I don't know why there's this.
We have a pervasive toxic culture out there that kind of closes the door on a lot of things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a whole nother podcast.
And Jack, that goes back to what Ellen was saying earlier about, we when we share stories, and I think you said this too, and you see the face of the individual or the family,
Yeah.
it makes it come to life, and it's not just the statistic anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
And that's why we put quite a few pictures in our book, family pictures and pictures growing
I
up.
loved that about your book. I loved it.
Well, it's so easy just to judge somebody who struggled with something, and you have to know them before the struggle. And the person that helped us write our book, she said, you have to start at the beginning. We have to get to know your family first. And, she was exactly right. And she was a great content editor. And, yeah.
Well, if we'll talk more about, your book and publishers and stuff. I don't know anybody, but, have you thought about self-publishing? Can you do that now?
When my contract expires.
Okay. All right. So the three of us here today share your vision for a more compassionate world. And again, we just talked about sharing our stories does have the power to change this world. And when your book is published, it will inspire and ignite change that you want. But we know there's many challenges along the way when you share a personal story. We know that firsthand. And would you like to expound on that? I mean, are you, afraid of being vulnerable out there? People judging you? Things like that.
Yeah. It's you speak the truth. And I think the challenge with a memoir is that it's the author's truth and their lived experience. And, for example, my mom hasn't read my book yet. And probably shouldn't, because her experience of being my mom is very different than it was like being her daughter. What comforts me is knowing that I've shared my truth and people can take it or leave it. When I coach storytellers, I always get asked the question, how much is too much? How much can I share? And my reply is always that if you don't want to see it on the front page of the New York Times or the cover of People magazine, don't say it. And I would say for me, there's nothing in my book that I would be uncomfortable with being on the front page of the newspaper. And that's my litmus test.
Okay.
Vulnerability isn't for everybody. But people that don't share vulnerability don't know maybe what they're missing.
That there's somebody out there that they can help, that's somebody that's got that same vulnerability, that they can, know that, maybe they should speak up. Their voice is important to be heard. So.
Yeah. And when you're able to connect with somebody that needs to hear you, that is such a gift.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Robyn, you've kind of, certainly for myself, inspired me to really think about how and when and where I tell my story and kind of revisiting some of the things. Will you give our listeners and me some practical advice that they can take away from listening to this podcast that they can use in daily lives or as they're looking ahead? Kind of a spark of inspiration.
That's a good one. So the first thing that comes to mind is my mantra, don't be ashamed to share the stories that shaped you.
I love that. Love it.
Thank you so much.
Love it.
And I think, you know, from an execution point of view, when we tell our stories, I think that we have to be mindful of what action do we want the audience to take after hearing our story. And when we tell our stories, we need to have a balance of, you know, all of the like ugly details and rock bottom, and have a nice balance of hope.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, you know, we don't want to just hear about, you know, and then I crashed my car into the tree and, you know, I was drunk and I was in jail for 11 years. We want to hear how it transformed you. And always end your story with telling your audience what you want them to do. Yeah. In my TED Talk, I end it with, I want you to think about what small thing inspired you in a big way. You know, maybe you're telling the story and you're raising money for your nonprofit. You might say, can I count on you to help support this important work moving forward by making a donation before you leave tonight? Does this work seem important to you? If so, will you support us? It could even be, I coached one TED speaker. His talk was about how people just don't make eye contact anymore.
Yeah, for sure.
And his call to action was, I want you to look to the person to your right and make eye contact. And now I want you to look to the person to your left and make eye contact. So be really deliberate with what you want your audience to do.
Love that.
That is incredible advice. Thank you.
I wrote on my paper because I remembered from working with you, you know, the why you're doing what you're doing and what you want people to do with what you just told them in your story. So the why and the what.
Exactly.
Yes.
And the
yes.
call to action. I love this.
Yeah. Thank you.
This time has gone by so fast. Is there anything that you would like to share with us or something that you wished we would have asked? Anything else you want to leave us with?
Did you get that question from me, Linda? That's my closing question. Is there anything that you were hoping we would talk about today that we didn't?
I've said
Yes.
it lots of times before. Maybe I did. I think I said that even before because I tend to be a little insecure about things sometimes. So, but I don't know. I have to go back and see when I first said it. So, but
I'm just teasing. You're a masterpiece. You have no reason to be insecure.
It just
I
could
would
be
say
that like-minded people sometimes come up with the same thoughts sometimes.
That's very flattering to me. So,
Oh, thank you.
you know, anybody that wants to brainstorm about how to develop the muscle to tell your story, just send me an email. It's robynshumer@gmail.com, ROBYNSHUMER @gmail.com. And if you want to see some of the work I've done, and you go to my website, robynschumer.com, click on speakers, I think I've got about 20 storytellers from What's Your Story. These are all people I've worked with at live events, sharing their stories. And I'd love to be on that journey with you.
Do you have any more live events coming up?
I need to have one in Rochester.
Yes, we could help you with that.
We're inviting you.
Yes,
We're inviting
yes.
you. Please come.
Yeah.
Yes.
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 We'd love that.
Let's make that happen in the spring.
Okay.
Let's do it. Yes.
I remember the story you shared when we had the story slam, and the one part of the story. I don't know if you want to share it now, but about the triathlete that you helped and how that was paid forward.
That was really unbelievable. So I live about 15 minutes from Lake Placid, where every July they have the Ironman triathlon. And I was volunteering, and on my way home, I was on a road where the police would only let 10 cars at a time go. And I was the 10th car in this specific cadence. And as I'm driving, I see a cyclist on the side of the road on their back, and he was just waving his hands. And so the 9 cars in front of me passed him, and all the cars before our little group passed him. And I got out of my car and I ran up the hill and said, "Are you okay?" And he wasn't okay. And so, I waved on a car and said, "You get the ambulance at the bottom of the hill." And his name was Jim. And I called Jim's wife and said, Jim's going to be okay. He's going to the medical tent. I just want you to know that he's not going to be finishing the race if you're tracking him. And a couple hours later, I got a phone call from a Connecticut number that I didn't recognize, and it was Jim. And he said, "Robyn, this is Jim. Thank you for saving my life." And the physicians at the med tent said he was minutes away from kidney failure and a cardiac arrest. And so I created another talk about the spectator effect and how we cannot go through life ignoring people that need help. And at the Story Slam, I told the story, and then Jim joined me, and he, talked about his experience with me saving his life. And a couple days later, he called me. Oh, no, he told us that night on the Story Slam. I think the weekend before, he had been doing a triathlon in Austin, and I asked him how it went. And when he was on the bike path, he saw a cyclist in distress. And he got off his bike, and he and another athlete gave this man chest compressions for 25 minutes until the paramedics came.
Wow.
I'm about to cry.
Yeah.
So he had the opportunity to save somebody's life after his life was saved. I need to get Jim and this guy from Austin into Rochester for the Story Slam.
Yes. We can do it.
That is an incredible, powerful story. Incredible.
That's something.
Yeah.
And so really makes you stop and think and reflect on your own behaviors and going forward and thinking about we have to be more compassionate. We have to. We have to look at people. We have to listen to them. We have to,
Well, and how, just helping one person, right, helps another person, that helps another person, that helps another person. So,
And at Story Slam, my talk was raise your compassion quotient. We have to raise our compassion quotient. But that is the ultimate act of compassion, and look at how it just trickled out, and who knows where it'll go from there. But amazing.
And this year's Eating Disorder Awareness Week at the end of February, February 26th through March 2nd, the theme is healing in community.
Right.
So, it's just we have to come together as a community.
Well, this has
And
been...
you all are doing that. That's what you're doing. That's your magic. That's why we're all here right now. So thank you.
Well, it fills
for
us
doing
up.
that.
It fills us up too, and we've met the most incredible, wonderful people, and it's our Emily connection. She's up there pulling the strings because this is a space we would never have asked to be in, but we're privileged to be here and to be helping others. And our daughter's name, and Ellen is doing the same thing for her daughter, Katie. And there's just something about giving back. There's nothing that feels as good when it's appreciated. And even when it's not, because at least you tried, right?
Yeah.
So
It's kind of a powerful force. It's that need to just be able to say, hey, it's that need to share your story. I know for me, that's what just pushes me forward. Like, hey, did you know
right.
these things happen? Hey, let's talk about this. Hey.
Yeah. Well, our time is up, and I'm sad to say it's up, but it's been absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much, Robyn. You are truly so gifted, and we're so blessed to know you. So thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you, listeners. You are the reason we do this. And a warm thank you to Rockvox Recording and Production and extraordinary sound engineer, Scott Fitzgerald, for expertly producing our podcast and so much more.
Robyn, you are a gift for us today. Listeners, help us continue the conversation. Please rate, review, share, and subscribe to Once Shattered on the podcast platform you are listening to. Tell your family and friends about us, and check out the show notes to learn more about Robyn Shumer and What's Your Story. KMB for Answers and the Emily Connection.
And Robyn, I believe there's no coincidences. And, us being invited last year to Boston and having Rebecca put us in touch with you is, we're just blessed to have that happen. So thank you. Remember, everybody's mental health matters. We please remember everybody's health matters. And remember that Rockvox Recording and Production is the only place to record your podcast, record your audiobook, or do a legacy cast for your loved ones. And please, thank you, everybody, for listening.